Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about the 9.4 beta, and well, I did it all surprisingly, because recently I kind of had stopped doing them, but there's a good reason why I kind of carried on with this one, because it felt more fun and interesting and I genuinely didn't hate it. But before I get to the good things, I have to go through the bad, because it is a shame that Kabam just kind of neglected a few things in regards of the beta. Number one, and the most obvious one, is going to be the rewards, man. The rewards that we get for doing the beta is basically like 22k Sandstar shards. Still, it's just nowhere near good enough. It's absolutely not worth the time and effort, and unless I knew that I'm going to be doing a video after for 9.4 beta, I would not have bothered opening it. Honestly, like spending several hours in total with max boost and recalls on it kind of took me about 4 hours to do all of it, 2-hour streams. I would absolutely not even consider touching this for 4 hours if the return back on it is like 22k Sandstar shards. Now, I understand it's like meant to be as an extra little incentive, but they have had this same extra little incentive since like Act 8 basically, or even before that. So it is well past and beyond the time Kabam actually improves on this. Because, yeah, if somebody asks me, should I do beta? No, you shouldn't. Really, it's just no point. It's like, you can, better grind arena, man. There is no kind of like worse return on investment than doing the beta right now in the game for anything that you could do. So that is the first thing that's like an elephant in the room, is like, Kabam is abysmally bad, and they should have improved the returns of this significantly. You know what? I would even accept if that was Titan Crystal. It was like 22k Titan shards or something like that. That would be way more exciting. But in general, they just have to do something here. Because, again, not only they haven't increased the amount of 7-star shards that we would get for doing the 9.4 beta, or any beta, also, the 7-star crystal has never been like less interesting and valuable because of how Titan crystal and 7-star crystals are structured. Again, generally opening 7-star crystals feels borderline meaningless because Kabam has, like, I mean, that's going to change kind of soon a bit, but still, it's not like 7-star crystal is going to be anything majorly exciting for a portion of the player base for sure. So, there you go. I think the rewards are garbage. I think Kabam should absolutely look at it. Second thing is the lag, man. The server is so laggy. It's so bad. Initially, the one thing that, again, I noticed and I went and double-checked was that in the settings, it had set again to the 30 FPS. I changed that and it got a little better. But still, you guys can check out my stream. There are so many fights that are incredibly laggy, so that definitely took away from the experience. And the last thing that I will say is that, how can I log out? Like, dude, it's like, I last time to get out of the beta, I had to reinstall the game. Like, what, like, I used to be able to get out of the beta. It didn't automatically, like, throw me back in. But now, in order to be able to get out, I have to uninstall the game and reinstall it. So, something's gonna be wrong there. So there you go. That's kind of like my issues with Kabam organizing the beta more so than the content itself. When it comes to the content, I actually like it. I genuinely enjoyed it, which is the only reason why I kind of figured I'll explore all of it. There are a couple of boss fights that I thought were awesome, that I did not expect. Most of the boss fights are actually kind of fair and decent, but some of them are like very fun, very much so, like better than others. Like this one, where you have, whenever the defender uses a contact attack during their special attack, the attacker must well-time block it. If they don't, the attacker's deal a burst of direct damage equal to 5% of max health. And that's also like only way how you are generating power in this match. And it was fun. So you basically kind of just kept pushing APOC to level 2s and kept trying to parry everything. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had a good time in this boss fight. It wasn't easy. I didn't solo it because I didn't bring in like the best option for it, but genuinely, I was very close solo, but it was enjoyable. I enjoyed that fight. Same as like most of the other ones, but this one I definitely do recall more. And I think one in This quest was also quite nice. Some of the bosses were also like nukeable. Okoye was okay. I'm gonna get it. This one was like a cheesy kind of fun thing with Nico. I enjoyed this one. This one was also enjoyable and kind of good fun type of fight. But yes, there is reverse controls involved with the confusing specials. But basically, the line, like even Gallon, like I used 6-star Gallon and I did mess up a bit, and I needed a bit of help finishing it up. So I did most of the damage with Gallon here. But it was interestingly structured fight, and I had fun doing these boss fights, which is more I can say about most of the fights in like 9.2, 9.3, because if we're honest, like even for 9.3, I barely remember that content, and that has kind of been one of my feedback about, you know, story quests in general. I think the boss fights are fine, you know, the Doctor Doom, the Lotan, the rest of them, you know, Behemoth. My all-time favorite boss fight, still the Gwynmaster, by the way. But I always, you know, like those boss fights, and I think they're fine and good. But I barely remember the story content as it keeps coming out, because there's nothing else really memorable there. And this time around, like a few of the lanes and definitely a few of the boss fights actually kind of stuck with me, and I definitely, you know, felt like, okay, this is a fair fight. As in, it's not easy. It is a bit tricky. And I'm enjoying it. It didn't feel bullshit. It didn't feel like absolutely unfair and whatnot. And that definitely didn't feel like it's super easy and completely forgettable either. So I think for me personally, Bam has kind of found a fairly good middle ground here. There's also like this crossbones boss again, like with the reverse controls. It's an interesting node that I don't think I had seen before. Where's the bosses? Where's the evil boss lady? No boss crossbones. This crossbones also is definitely quite cool because block head. Whenever either champion blocks an attack, the attack is inflicted with reverse controls, so the controls are already worse. So obviously you can approach this fight with Jean Grey, which was the easiest way to solo this fight. But before doing that, I actually went in and tried this fight out, and I also enjoyed it. I think I tried to cheese it a bit with Ronan, and it kind of went fine, but again, there are some interesting nodes, some interesting fights, and it's better than has been. And the nodes themselves, for the most part, up until we get to the last two quests, I liked a lot. The whole Scourge thing, I didn't enjoy as much necessarily, but there were more kind of straightforward nodes that didn't seem like I had to read a Bible, and I kind of jumped in there, and it wasn't too bad. Like here, I basically figured, you know, you need to knock the opponent down and keep them down there, and you know, Cosmic Champions will help you. And again, it didn't feel like I need to spend a ton of time reading these nodes up until the end. And that's kind of like, again, the bad bit. That kind of reminds me about like where story content is going wrong, where all of these Scourge nodes are starting to appear. Even though I have done these nodes before, it's still like just mentally processing them, like Scourge power gain, then a Striker, then a Root, and there's this, you know, Eradicate, and then the most unenjoyable quests were by far the last two for me, just because, again, they start involving these like weapon nodes and Scourge nodes, and there's like much more kind of like information processing that's needed, and also they don't necessarily hold up as well as the previous ones. And this is going to be a good example of a path that I absolutely hated, because in here there's this basically weapon node where eventually you're going to get rooted or whatever, and the base idea is that I need, in order to do a burst of damage to the opponent, I need to activate a special attack when they're dashing in at me, and you know, when I have more than 10 Scourge charges. Problem here is this Matador 2 lane, Matador 2 node. When the defender activates special attack, the attacker generates a fixed 50% of our power. There was this Matador 2 lane somewhere else in the quest, and I basically just ended up ignoring it. And I went in with like Okoye and a few other champions that kind of nuke opponents without having to activate special attacks and just suffer through the Scourge nodes. Because again, in order to, for instance, get to your level 2, right, you need to bait out like 4 special attacks from the opponent. That's a lot, especially when AI doesn't necessarily want to cooperate, or when in case of Gladiator, I want to be baiting out the level 2s, right? Because I don't want him to throw the level 1s, because he's going to go unstoppable, that's going to mess the fight timing. I don't want that to happen. I want to bait out level 2. If I'm solely baiting out level 2s, I need to give my opponent, like, 4 bars of power to get to level 1, or 8 bars of power to get level 2. It's just disproportionately bad. And similar with Annihilus, also the fight felt quite poor. Null, as well as another champion that you do want to be pushing to level 2, so that goes long. Rhino is another one where you do not want him to be throwing level 1s in general. And yeah, there are a couple of lanes, namely to do with the Matador. I think both of the most annoying lanes had Matador 2 in them, and it's just too bad. Like, dealing with Matador typically is fine, because you kind of get, the same amount of power that the opponent does. When they activate the special, you get a power bar, and it's slightly more than you normally get. But when it's cut in half, it just destroys the flow of the fight. So yeah, there were a couple of lanes that I absolutely did not like. But overall, I liked the piece of content. The MVPs of this, Jean Grey and Okoye and Spider-Woman and Serpent were kind of my big MVPs. I think I used Okoye and Jean Grey the most, alongside Spider-Woman. But yeah, Okoye was kind of invaluable, because just like I explained here, with Okoye, I just started ignoring some of the nodes because they were like so tedious and boring to play through. And I just started to nuke the opponents and kind of pushing my luck there a bit. And that Okoye in general kind of went ham on a couple of lanes. There's this one lane that improves your dot potency and duration for each like paradox charge that you have. Okoye went ham on that one as well. And yeah, so Okoye was definitely kind of like the better one. So I do hope Kabam definitely adjusts the Matador stuff, and I think it's unavoidable. I think we're going to have to deal with the weapon and Scourge nodes, because this is kind of Kabam doing a recap of what Act 9 was about, and Scourge and weapon nodes were a big part of it. But I can immediately tell you that it's also the worst part of 9.4. The first 4 quests were way more fun than the last 2, and the last 2 also kind of seem to drag a bit more. So I hope Kabam learns from this when they are working on, Act 10, as stupid as it sounds. It's like, don't give us these stupid, long, overcomplicated node sets. It's like, it does not enhance the gameplay experience in any way. It really doesn't. It takes away from the gameplay experience. Like, having these nodes where you have to read a Bible, and then all of them are finicky, and we need to figure out exactly what you wanted us to do for these fights to be somewhat moderately enjoyable. Don't do that. Just, use regular nodes and make fun parts, and that's better. And again, that is effectively how most of the 9.1 to 9.41 to 9.44 went. Most of the lanes here were basically kind of like, Cosmic Avalanche, something, or, they were more similar to, like, Mutant Mastery, Persistent Pressure. This is, like, a bit tricky lane, but it is still better than is there. And, again, Power Technician, Kinetic Reactor. It's like, this stuff was way better and way more enjoyable than the whole weapon and Scourge mechanics to me, and I hope we don't see much of stuff like that back again, because it's just worse comparatively. Like, especially you can tell now, because you kind of have to play them, quest by quest. And again, the last 2 ones are definitely the least fun ones, and the most read up on things, and ponder on things and enjoy the game least quest. But overall, I liked it so far. I think this was the best chapter of Act 9 so far. So let me know what you guys think. But again, yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next